So how long will this drag out, and how will this impact both Love and the Packers?
Well, if he's not practicing, there's less chance he's going to get hurt. So that's nice. Yeah, he may get hurt in the weight room. He may get a hangnail during a meeting. There are some things, but there's a less of a chance that he can get hurt because he's not practicing. But at the same time, it's rust, right? You definitely need to reestablish your rapport with your receivers. You need to get in some semblance of a rhythm. If anything is true, right? Think about what we were talking about with guys like Jordan Montgomery and JD Martinez and guys that just kind of walked off the street and tried to do what they do normally. They have not been very good. JD Martinez is the exception because he went down and spent 2 weeks in the minor leagues and then came back up.
He's also very obsessive.
Yeah.
He's an obsessive person. Like, he obsesses over hitting. So
yeah, he's a savant. That guy is truly a savant. But a guy like Blake Snell, it's like Snell. And just roll out of bed and I'll just dominate. Did his ERA come below 9 yet? So I think he's still hurt.
He's still hurt.
Yeah, he's still hurt. So his ERA is still at 9. So there you go. And Monty, I think, is hurt now too. So there's something to be said about making sure that you're in shape. Now, thankfully for him, he's in camp, so he can do some semblance of conditioning with the coaches and the health and nutrition staff and things like that. Now, when does it's got to get done before opening day, wouldn't you say? Like, it's got to get done before week 1. So I think it would do them the best if they get this done within 2 weeks. If I'm Gutekunst and I'm Jordan Love's representative, I'm trying to get this done as soon as possible so I get my client out on the field and get him playing. Because the ceiling is high for the Packers based on last year, right? They outkicked our coverage. I think we both had them in last place last year, and they certainly proved us wrong. They certainly did.
Yeah, I had their manager getting fired.
Right. Well, LaFleur is always a good candidate.
LaFleur. Their head coach, rather say their manager, their head coach.
Yeah, LaFleur is always a candidate. He might be a candidate to get fired this year. He's just on there. If they underachieve, goodbye. But this is an opportunity. This is a winnable division. We don't know if the Lions can do it 2 years in a row. We don't know what the Vikings are going to have with JJ McCarthy, and we don't know what they're going to have. What the Bears are going to have with Caleb Williams, as we've just said. Loaded. Well, what do we have at quarterback? So it would behoove them to get this done ASAP. And that will allow the team to move forward, because not only do they need to be ready, they got to travel. They're in Brazil week 1. Brazil. They're playing that Friday game against the Eagles where nobody can wear green. It's weird. Well, because of the gangs. But if I'm Jordan Love, I'm like, I go to my agent, I'm like, get this done as soon as possible. And if I'm representing myself, I'm like, let's get into a room here. Like, I'm not practicing. Let's talk.
I mean, I don't know. There's really nothing to talk about. I mean, it's like he can dictate the flow of this. You're not gonna be able to replace Jordan Love. You're not gonna start over if you're the Packers, especially with how he played last year in the playoffs. Like, they almost beat the 49ers, and they went into Dallas and slapped them in the playoffs. Yeah. Like, they've young receivers. Like, it's clear that their GM knew what he was doing, and everybody in the New York media was making fun of him for not keeping Rodgers and getting rid of Rodgers. Looks like this motherfucker knows what he's doing, because
I think so.
Their team is, I think they're another team that's super talented with their young wide receivers. Josh Jacobs playing running back for them. And yeah, I mean, you just got to basically give him what he wants. But unlike Lamar, I kind of understand what he's doing. Like, I'm not going to practice, and I'm not going to go out there until I get my money, until I get my contract. Like, I'm not going to get hurt and on my current deal. Like, where's my extension? You've got to pay me. I clearly showed you that I'm the quarterback of the future. You're not going to start over. I'm not Justin Fields. I'm not Kenny Pickett. So you're gonna have to pay me whatever my agent's asking for. There's no wiggle room here, Z, because franchise quarterbacks are a dying breed. There's not a lot of them. You know, look at what other teams have gone through. Look at what the Browns had to give up and what they've gone through to have to get their quarterback. Look at what the Steelers wound up doing because they didn't have a guy. They didn't have their guy, and they got rid of. Look at the Jets. Look what the Jets have been through. So,
and I would argue that none of those guys have their quarterback. I would argue that Deshaun Watson, don't know. Russ, don't know. Justin Fields, don't know. And then Aaron Rodgers. I mean,
okay,
Aaron Rodgers is a goddamn head case.
That's fine, Z. But what's the alternative?
The alternative.
What's the alternative? So, like the teams that you just named, they brought in Wilson and they brought in Fields. What else could they? What else could they possibly do? If they didn't have those two guys, who would they have?
Steelers would have had Pickett, who was not great, who was not good.
Right.
But it's another year in the wilderness. I would argue with you. I could argue with you that it's another year in the wilderness for the Steelers, regardless. Like they're fine. They didn't get better. Kenny Pickett, Justin Fields,
What?
Russell Wilson,
You're kidding. You're telling me, given the choice, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, given the choice between playing Kenny Pickett, Justin Fields, or Russell Wilson, you're going to pick Kenny Pickett?
No.
Oh,
what
okay.
I'm saying is that it's a fucking wash between all three of them. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, but out of the three of them, which one would you rather have?
I would say of the three, Justin Fields. Of the three,
right.
Justin Fields.
You're not going to take Kenny Pickett, right? So same thing with the Jets. You can have Aaron Rodgers or you can have Zach Wilson. Who are you taking?
You have to take Aaron Rodgers because Zach Wilson's terrible.
Right.
But you don't have to. It's a forced choice. You suck for a year and you get somebody else. That's what you've been doing.
But there's nobody else. You don't know. That's the whole thing, is you don't know what is going to happen. You don't know what's going to come in the draft. You have no idea. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, that's why Jordan Love has all the leverage, because you don't have a choice. If you don't give me my money, you're going to suck this year, and then you don't know what you're going to get next year. And I'm gone, and someone in this league is going to pay me top dollar because a team like the Seahawks is going to be like, well, we don't, Chino is what we had to take. We don't really want him. Like, other teams will have the chance to upgrade. That's what I'm trying to say. He has all the leverage. In today's NFL, if you don't have a franchise quarterback, you're not winning. I know we're going to do our picks in a couple of weeks, but there's really only 10 teams that could possibly win the Super Bowl because they have an elite quarterback.
Now, here's what I'm saying to you, though. The longer this drags out, Jordan Love loses all of his leverage, and here's why. Because the Packers start to suck, the fans will turn on him.
They won't let it get there. But they won't let it get there. It's not going to be like an Emmitt Smith situation where he doesn't come in until like week 4 or week 3. They're going to wind up probably giving him a deal like probably, I'd say, 2 weeks or 3 weeks before camp breaks. Like, that's when they're going to wind up giving him his deal. Because at some point you're like, well, we need the fucking quarterback here to run the offense. So what are we talking about? Like, even they're saying they're close. We don't know if that's true. That could be bullshit. But what are we talking about here? We're talking about $5 million? We're talking about $15 million? Like, how much are we talking about?
Right, that's a good question.
Like, you see what I'm trying to say? Like, at the end of the day, it could be just nuances in the contract or nuances in the deal. It could be about guaranteed money. It could be about deferred dollars because people like to do that shit now. Like, it's something like that where at some point you're like, oh, fuck it. Like, I got to put a team on the field. I can't be running the first team with Zach Wilson out here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, look, that's another situation. Look at Denver. Look at the. That's what happens in Denver when you miss on your quarterback. Now, granted, Nix might be the guy and he might be well, but there you got 3 guys, and really, I don't know who should start. I don't know. I would say just go with Nix because who gives a shit at this point? You know what I mean?
That's why you have a competition in camp when you have guys who are of similar skill set. Like it's going to be a competition in camp in Pittsburgh